Thank you all for joining us tonight for this listening and information session. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2020. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted online for parents who are unable to attend. Also, you may notice that I am speaking a little slowly. That is because Ms. Sutton, one of our administrators, is also typing captions tonight. Tonight, I'm going to share information about the following topics: newsletter updates, a few save the date reminders, Synergy and ParentVue, materials distribution, some updates on the MCPS fall recovery plan, information that I now have about athletics and extracurriculars, speak a little bit about the seniors and the college process, and then we will have a moderated question and answer session. If you are joining us now for the first time, this is how the question and answer session will work. You'll use the chat box to ask your questions. The chat box will be monitored for themes or burning questions, and those questions will be sent to me. All the questions that are asked may not be answered. The first thing I want to share tonight is an update on how I am sending out BCC newsletters this fall. All updates for the fall will be published via SMORE, which is an online newsletter. Those links will be sent via ConnectEd and the PTSA listserv, as well as on social media. One of the good parts of SMORE is that it includes some accessibility features, including automatic translation into a variety of languages. I also want to share a few dates that I've shared in the past, but in case we have new parents with us tonight. The first is our new student orientation, which will be on the morning of August 27th. That time and format will be determined and announced soon. We also have several parent meetings scheduled. A 12th grade parent meeting on Tuesday, August 25th. An ESOL parent meeting on Wednesday, August 26th. A 9th grade parent meeting on Thursday, August 27th. An 11th grade parent meeting on Tuesday, September 1st. A IB diploma program parent meeting on Wednesday, September 2nd. And a 10th grade parent meeting, which would include information about the MYP program, on Thursday, September 3rd. We are also working on scheduling a parent meeting for parents of special education and 504 plan students. And the last reminder is that we have tentatively scheduled our back to school night for September 10th, and that time and format will be announced soon also. So MCPS has transitioned to Synergy, which is a new student information system. ParentVue is actually the parent portal that is used for that. Synergy and ParentVue will be the primary tool that we use to share information, including grades, attendance, scheduling, etc. Activation letters for ParentVue are being mailed centrally and will be mailed either this week or early next week. The portal will also allow you to update your contact information. So anyone who has not received access information to Synergy at this point is not behind or missing anything. Also, Synergy or ParentVue, whichever you prefer to call it, ParentVue is the app, will be used for receiving student final schedules, and those will be out on August 26th. MCPS has also announced some technology and materials distribution information. During this round, Chromebooks and some curriculum materials will be distributed, and some Chromebooks that students have can be returned for upgrades. I sent a full message out earlier today to the community with additional details, including which devices can be upgraded. That materials distribution will occur at BCC between Tuesday, August 25th and Friday, August 28th, which is next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, through the following Friday. We also have this divided by last name for the materials distribution. I'm not going to read this slide, but I do want to share that this information is important and ask that families abide by the division. We will have 2,300 students coming through BCC in 3.5 days for a variety of materials. In order for us to make this efficient and make it work, we need to be able to focus on certain parts of the alphabet at one time. So we appreciate your patience and your flexibility. I also want to note that there will be no distribution on Thursday morning because of new student orientation. So I've had a request to review the distribution information again. So the real question seems to be if all students have to pick something up. This will not be the only opportunity that students have to obtain materials from BCC. The primary focus of this round is technology, but we are making every effort to ensure that students also have curricular materials. We do also have access to Chromebooks for every student who wants one. And we would recommend that everyone come to BCC even if you don't need a Chromebook. Most classes, most content areas have some materials that they are distributing to different classes, including novels, textbooks, and other supplies. Again, the most important thing I can say about this is that this will not be the last opportunity that we have for distribution. Another question that I just saw come through is, how will the parents know what to get for their students if they don't have their schedule? The answer to that question is that we will be using our access to your child's schedule in order to put together materials. That's another reason that the last name sequencing is important on our side. So the last thing I will say about the technology materials distribution before we move on, and then if we come back to this in the questions and answers, is if for some reason you will not be in the area next week, or if you have any other questions that aren't answered in my communication today, you can contact your grade level administrator. So another question that I've had several times is the counselor assignments for the 2021 school year. I have 2 points to make before I share those counselor assignments. The first is, we are a growing school, and the addition of another full-time counselor made some adjustments necessary. And the retirement of one of our counselors made some changes necessary. As we looked at these changes, however, we made every attempt to keep seniors with the same counselor. So I have displayed, I'll leave this up for about 30 seconds, the 9th and 10th grade counselors. Then I will display the 11th and 12th grade counselors. This information has been added to the BCC website. So these are the 11th and 12th grade counselors. So the next bit of information I want to go over includes some updates that were provided this morning by Montgomery County Public Schools to the recovery plan. I don't necessarily have all of the details about each of these updates, but I will share what I know about them. The first is the announcement that Wednesdays will now be opportunities for students to have live check-ins. They will know teachers are active in Zoom classrooms. The next is that 8th period is becoming better defined. It will not be an additional class option for students at BCC. For example, a student could not choose to take an 8th class during the day. But we will use it for activities like clubs, NYP, Link Crew, some community building activities, social emotional learning lessons, and other things. We also learned this morning that MCPS is continuing to look at options around recording lessons to increase flexibility for students who may not be able to attend them live, and that the Montgomery College dual enrollment courses will now be offered before 9 a.m. or after 3 p.m. to eliminate conflicts, and that all high schools will run a sequential bell schedule. Periods 1 through 4 will be one day, and periods 5 through 8 will be the next day. I want to share a bit of information and answer a few questions that came through, a few common questions about athletics and extracurriculars. The first is that all sports and clubs will be virtual for the first semester. I was able to confirm with our athletic director that physicals will be required for participation in sports. But I want to remind you all that physicals must be completed once per year. And we still have those spring physicals or winter physicals on file. If you have any questions about your physical status or athletics, you can contact Mr. Mike Krauzel, who is our new athletic director or specialist, with any questions. We will also be running clubs during the fall. And SGA will be sponsoring a virtual club fair in September. The exact date and format will be announced later. It's another reminder that there have been no changes made to the SSL requirements for graduation by MSDE, but there will still be virtual opportunities to earn SSL hours. I also received quite a few questions about seniors and some of the activities, some of the traditional events that they have. So one specific event is actually senior photos. We just received notification on Friday that we are able to start the process of scheduling senior photos. So we are working with our photographer and our building calendar to determine when those will happen. And we will be sharing that with senior families soon. The College Advisory Committee and Ms. Matus have also scheduled several events to help navigate the college admissions process. One of those things is a conversation about college applications in the time of COVID, and that is occurring on the 31st at 7 p.m. And as I say that out loud, I am afraid I have the wrong date on that. I will do a double check on that. Before we are finished, I'll make sure I have the right date. I apologize if I'm wrong. I feel like it's next week. It is the 24th. I just noticed that in the chat. I was hoping Ms. Balsher would be here. It is the 24th. So I apologize for that error. August 24th at 7 p.m. The College and Career Center also has an up-to-date web page that has information added daily, and that can be found by going to the BCC website. Also, I want to remind everyone that we will have virtual college rep visits, and those will all be scheduled and announced through Naviance. If you are not on the PTSA listserv, I'd like to encourage you to sign up for that. They put out a very extensive email, or the College and Career Advisory Committee put out an extensive email over the weekend with details, including how to access Naviance. Also received multiple questions about the SAT and ACT. MCPS is looking at potential administration dates for the fall for both tests. And any decision about that will be made based on local health officials and the availability of staff to administer those tests. At this time, there are no test dates to announce. So the last thing, but I think one of the last things I have is just an important schedule change. And this is why I knew that the college advisory committee information was wrong. Next week's session, next week's information session will not occur because the college advisory committee is holding that session on navigating the college application process. So I do want to remind everyone again that there will be grade level and group parent meetings beginning on August 25th. And those were posted earlier, and I will make sure that they are also in every upcoming bulletin. And these parent meetings will resume later this fall. At this time, we're going to transition to the question and answer session. So I'm going to give me a second to look here at what we might not have answered. So a question that just came through is if students will receive planners or calendars. They will not receive a planner or calendar this year. The next question I received is when can we expect Synergy access information and what do we do if we don't receive it? I have been told that those letters are going out this week. I have not received mine for my children either. If you don't receive the access information by next Monday, you could reach out to your child's grade level administrator. The next question I got is whether or not Wednesdays are optional for students. The honest answer to that is I do not know. We've had a lot of attempting to define what Wednesday looks like. And there have been several changes that have been implemented, and we won't know the final word until the Board of Education votes on its plan on August 25th. So the next question is whether or not all classes are live, being taught live. All classes should be taught live. The next question is about virtual athletics. Well, several questions about virtual athletics. What does virtual athletics look like? What happens? And where do the physicals get uploaded? Those are details that are still being worked out. I will attempt to get information and share that in this week's update that will go out either on Friday or Saturday. So there's another question about Synergy access. So Synergy is the platform, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Synergy is the platform that MCPS will use for grading and attendance. It will also be the platform parents can use to monitor their students' grades and serves as an easy way to contact teachers. So there is a question about if students need a school Chromebook if they have a personal one. So I have reached out actually to the technology office to try to determine if there are technical specifications that personal computers would need to have in order to run our programs. And I did not get an answer to that. I believe that most personal computers would be able to run the programs we need. But until I am able to get some clearer answers, I couldn't say whether or not everyone would be okay with their own personal device. I also do want to clarify that during live instruction, the entire time may not be spent with the teacher teaching the students. There may be opportunities where students are in breakout rooms or even working independently while the teacher is monitoring their work. Live instruction in this case does not mean for the hour that the class is scheduled, the teacher will be speaking to students the entire time. So there's another question about ninth grade orientation and the supports that we are going to be providing for new students. When we run ninth grade orientation on August 27th, our hope is to have ninth graders really know what they're going to expect on the following Monday and give them an opportunity to virtually meet all their teachers. This is a piece of feedback that we received last year, that it's an important part of the orientation. In addition to those supports, we will also be running Link Crew this year, which is a mentoring program that matches upperclassmen with small groups of freshmen. One of the other things we will emphasize during the first few weeks of school for teachers is also relationship and community building, in an attempt to help all new students feel welcome at BCC. So the next question I have is about what type of monitoring will occur in the breakout rooms. When a teacher sets up breakout rooms in Zoom, they actually are able to move back and forth between those rooms very easily, just like they would move around a classroom and work with small groups. In addition, when lessons are recorded, breakout rooms are also recorded. There is a question about whether or not ninth grade parents need to provide their email to BCC. The best test to that answer is whether or not you received an email from me earlier today with information about technology distribution. If you received that email, we already have your information in our system. If you did not receive that email, I ask that you check your spam folder or junk folder. And then email me if you still don't have anything. There is a question about why some YouTube links did not work last spring, and if that will be fixed. I will need to check with our media specialist about that problem and provide an update. Another question is about what the feedback process will be for how things are going. I don't know what the formal process will be, but MCPS has announced that they will be gathering data as we move through the fall and make adjustments as necessary. Similarly, there's a question about feedback options for students and what to do if a class is not working well. In this situation, I'd like to recommend very similar pattern to what we would do if we were in the building. I would recommend that the student and the parent speak with the teacher first and share their concerns. Afterwards, they could next speak with the resource teacher for that department and the administrator supervising that department. Just waiting a few more minutes to see if any other questions come through. So there is a question, I keep coming back to this non-answer about the Chromebooks, and the question is, if I would recommend getting an MCPS Chromebook if you're on the fence. My answer to that is yes. The MCPS technology is set up to work with our courses. It is also set up with the appropriate security measures to ensure that Zoom remains secure for our students. We're also told that there are several questions about art supplies. I'm going to read into that question and assume you're speaking about specific art supplies, like for ceramics, for example. We have been working with our art teachers to identify materials we can distribute to students and hope to be able to share those materials starting next week. But again, we will be distributing materials at various points throughout the semester. There's a question about new students who are not in ninth grade, upperclassmen who are joining BCC, and options for joining in. One of the greatest things about BCC is actually the number of opportunities that there are for students to become involved. We have approximately 200 clubs. And that goes back to the virtual club fair that will happen in September. And that's an opportunity to find an interest point and use that as a way to create a friend group. There are a couple of very specific questions about the schedule and about some of the instruction that I do not have answers to at this time. One of which is how the recorded lessons will be viewed and how that will count for attendance. That answer is unknown to me at this time. So there's a question about how students and parents will receive their schedule. That will be done through Synergy. I apologize. Have been told that I am knocked offline. Ms. Sutton, I assume you can still hear me though. Okay. I apologize. So Synergy, that is a piece that we are still working out. I believe in the update this morning, it also said that student schedules would be sent to the email address for parents that we have on record. I will double check that and make sure that that is also included in my update this week. So another question has come through about whether or not we will accept materials that were to be returned to the middle schools. Our preference would be not to accept those materials. And we ask that you return them to either Silver Creek or Westland. So I have been told that that is the end of my questions. I've ended every session like this. I would simply like to remind everyone of the administrative assignments for BCC. So Ms. Adamson is the assistant principal for 9th grade. Dr. McGarwa is the assistant principal for 10th grade. Ms. Sutton is the assistant principal for 11th grade. Mr. Levine for 12th grade. Mr. Nelson works with our ESOL students and our IB programs. And then Ms. Debbie Teicher is our school business administrator. As I finish out, I have one last question about where to access the last 2 sessions that we had. The first session was recorded and is available on YouTube. I believe there's a link on the BCC homepage. If not, I will make sure that gets back up there. Last week's session, I forgot to record. But I did share the presentation in the update on Saturday, I believe is when the update went out. So finally, thank you all for attending tonight. I hope that you all have a restful evening and look forward to seeing your students very soon.